easy stuff and just get a microphone check.
Okay.
Please spell your first and last name for me, Hannah.
Okay, Heather Hannah, Heather, Hannah, Hannah.
How are you doing?
I am doing fine. It has been a whirlwind past couple of days, but you know, it's nice that everybody finally knows the truth.
Yeah, and for a while there was so many questions about what was going on. How does it feel to be able to talk openly about what you've known all along amidst all the questions and some of the uncertainty?
There are mixed feelings, a lot of sadness because everything that we worked so hard to hold as a secret for so many years is finally out, and not only among our friends in Montgomery, but also throughout the state and now the nation. So it's very sad that our state is being cast in such a poor light. But at the same time, you feel a little bit of relief that it is no longer a secret and you're not having to protect this thing that shouldn't be happening. So it does feel relief as well. And then a little bit of happiness because we can all kind of go back to our normal lives and continue to press on with our lives like we should be doing.
Well, I know you've done this a couple of different times already, but if you would just kind of take me back to your original involvement and how you kind of worked with Diane to kind of get some of this started.
I had the privilege of working with First Lady Diane Bentley as her chief of staff, but I got to meet her before that. I worked on the campaign with Governor and Mrs. Bentley, and at the time, Dr. and Mrs. Bentley. And when she asked me to come to Montgomery, she asked me to look out for her and protect her and help her accomplish something great as First Lady, and I really committed to that. So when we noticed that there was a change in his behavior and really a change in their relationship is when I started growing concerned, and I guess as a protective instinct of someone I was loyal to, I really tried to document different things that were bothering me and different red flags that I saw, and the more I gathered, the more concerned I got, and finally brought it to her. So when Miss Bentley and I sat down in her living room and talked about the fact that something like this was going on, we cried a lot and tried to figure out what we were going to do, and we knew that it couldn't be something anyone knew about. We knew it had to be kept between the two of us because it was such a terrible thing to have to talk about, and a terrible thing that could impact so many lives, but especially the lives of the Bentley family. So Miss Bentley and I wanted to keep it a secret, but also continually gather evidence and proof so that we could take it to the governor in an effort to get him to stop.
Yeah, and how hard is that? Because you mentioned you'd gotten close with the family, and I'd imagine that you viewed her as more of a friend at that point, you know, than anything else. I mean, did you actually have to tell her?
I did. I remember the night we waited until everybody else had kind of left the mansion complex for the day, and told her I needed to speak with her. And you know, that's never something somebody wants to hear. Your mind immediately starts racing. Oh my goodness, what could they be talking about? You know, for all I know, she thought I was going to quit. I'm not sure. And when we sat down and I pulled out my notes, I remember just trembling, and she was kind of shaking too, but everything we talked about, she recognized it as well, and we knew that there was a problem. We knew that it had changed, and at that point, though, I think her and my relationship grew stronger. She was already my best friend in Montgomery and a woman I will always admire, and I did feel like a part of their family. I felt almost like I was the daughter that she never had, but being in that role and feeling that close to the family, I just felt it was vital to voice my concern to her.
Yeah, and you guys at that point made it a point to try to keep everything between y'all, and you mentioned tried to build things. Talk to me about what y'all's plan was and how you executed it.
I don't know that we had a plan other than figure out a way to let him know that we knew, or that she knew first. She didn't want me to be involved any more than I had to be, but she knew that she had to gather proof and evidence to show him that, hey, I know something's going on, and you need to stop. You need to stop before it gets, you know, out of control, I guess. And at that point, we weren't sure how advanced the affair was. We just knew something was going on, and we thought maybe if we call him out on it, he'll be like, oh, what am I doing? And I guess kind of wake up and come back to who he always had been, and that was just our hope. So I know everybody's talking about the recordings now, and those recordings kind of came a little bit later, and only because in her mind she needed to know that it was really happening, and she needed concrete proof to take to him to say, hey, look, you can't deny it, this is real, like, please stop. And the recordings were never meant for anybody else. They were never meant to be heard by anyone.
Right. Are you able to talk about the recordings at all, or how y'all were able to do that, or you know?
Mrs. Bentley is a very smart lady, and she, we talked about a lot of different ways, and thank goodness for technology. And I guess because I was so young and so fresh out of school, we utilized technology for everything that we did. So I said, hey, we don't need anything fancy. We don't need recorders or anything else. There's voice record on your cell phone. So we used voice record. That's just an app that's on everybody's iPhone these days to capture what has become such an important part, I guess, of the case.
Yeah, and let's talk about that moment when you did have to take this beyond Miss Bentley, and there were some other folks that were then in the know, and what happened after that?
Well, Mrs. Bentley and I knew for a long time, and when the governor wasn't changing from any of his behavior and it seemed to be getting worse, she brought the family in. And when the family got involved was, to me, when it became more serious, because if you can look at your son in the eye and say, and this isn't going on, or deny it, or, you know, just get angry, like that's when you know it's a problem. And from that point on, more people started finding out about it because it became more of a visible affair. And so a lot of people had to get involved, whether it was the security detail that traveled with him and the security detail that traveled with us. I mean, the man that traveled with Mrs. Bentley was an integral part of our team. He kept us encouraged and safe, and everything else, I wouldn't trade our time with him. And the guys that rode with the governor, I mean, they were privy to everything that was going on, as well as his staff. So it became a larger circle, and everybody kind of got on one side or another, and it's really sad to divide an administration over something like that.
Sure, and things got personal for you at one point, where you became the subject of it sounds like some threats and some things that I'm sure were damaging to your ability to go through life as normal.
Well, yes, Governor Bentley was upset toward me at a couple of different occasions, but I think more out of the fact that he was angry that we found out, and angry that we could expose him. And at that time I was pretty angry with him as well for hurting Mrs. Bentley, somebody I admired so much, and hurting this relationship that I admired and held in such high esteem. So honestly, I feel bad for him. I feel bad that he couldn't see the wrong and couldn't change from that.
Did you actually, I think I'd seen somewhere, you have a rock thrown through a window at one point? You had some, and I read in that long 130-page report that there were some choice words directed at you. Talk to me about that and how that made you feel when you thought you were just acting in the best interest of the woman you'd been hired to.
Yeah, that happened last year when, after the divorce was over, I felt like we relived this affair all over again, and then the recordings came out, and again, you're reliving it. And after the recordings were released, you know, we went through depositions and everything else just as part of the investigation, and I participated very willingly because it was my job, and I felt like my duty to tell the truth, and that's all I ever wanted to do. And so when my car windows got written on, I thought it was strange. I wasn't alarmed, I was more irritated probably, because you know, it takes an hour to get it off of your car windows, and I had to call my neighbors and get them to help me do it in the middle of the night, and they were really sweet to come down and help me. But the rock through the window was a lot more serious and alarming. It was the first time I felt like, okay, this actually caused harm to something, but at the same time, you can't be shaken by those kind of things, and it can't make you too afraid to tell the truth and to do what's right.
Wow. I mean, when you hear things and want to read things like, you know, die, I mean, what goes through your head when you hear something?
Just disappointment. I mean, you're disappointed that people can't see what's right, and and what's right in front of them, and know that that's all I was trying to do. All I was doing was defending the First Lady, who I will always admire and respect, and prove that everything we did and stood for was just in an effort to maintain the relationship and the marriage that, I mean, the campaign, a lot of the campaign was based off of. So it's really sad that people will get so angry and so hostile over me telling the truth and over me just protecting what we worked so hard to accomplish in the first place.
Are you surprised yesterday took so long to get to where we ended up?
Yes, very surprised. You're the first person to ask that, but yes, it feels like this has been dragging on for such a long time. I mean, Ms. Bentley and I had that conversation years ago, and we begged it to end years ago, and I guess I've been wondering what it was going to take, and I'm really sad that everything that has happened has had to happen in order to get us here, but at least everyone knows the truth now.
And it sounds like, at the beginning and the middle process of this, there was some uncertainty about what your role may have been, but after this report comes out, do you feel kind of, vindicated a little bit in what you were trying to do, and sounds like build a case?
Yeah. Honestly, I never thought my name would be the one out there. I mean, we have wonderful people like Spencer Collier and Ray Lewis standing up, and Linda Adams standing up, and so many more people that have remained unnamed, and for their own privacy, we'll leave it at that. But there were a lot of us involved. So honestly, vindication, no, I don't know that would be the word I would use. I just, more than anything, feel relieved and thankful that everybody has the opportunity to know the truth, because I think truth is a very, very powerful thing.
Did you see, I'm sure you saw some of the images yesterday, but between first the rumors of resignation, then a booking and a processing into jail, and then the actual resignation, I mean, what was yesterday like for you after being on the inside for as long as you were? Yesterday
was emotional. That's just the best way to describe it. You cannot put one emotion on anything that happened yesterday. My first thought is concern for Mrs. Bentley, because again, my loyalty is still and will always be with her, and just how it was making her feel, like what she was experiencing. And my prayer is that she will just continue to be the strong, incredible woman that she is. And sadness that this administration that so many of us worked really, really hard to even make happen, and then all of a sudden this administration that we worked really hard to sustain, it's ending, and it has such a blemish on it. That's really sad. But then at the same time, it's kind of nice that Alabama gets a fresh start, like put all this behind us and move on, move forward, and hopefully stronger as we do that together.
We had all been, told and thought that, there were some times where they thought this might come out sooner. I mean, can you speak to, were there ever times when this was so close to maybe hitting the surface? We heard things about, inauguration night and some of the times when it came to the election itself. I mean, was this ever close to making it before it did?
Yes. I'm really surprised that it stayed a quote-unquote secret as long as it did. Montgomery knew what was going on, and just didn't become so widely publicized. And I think we were all surprised that it took so long, but we know that God's timing is perfect, and whatever that time may be and why ever we had to wait that long, it was for a reason. So we may not know what that reason is today as we sit here one day away from it, but we will one day.
Have you had a chance to talk to Ms. Bentley since yesterday?
I have. Ms. Bentley is incredible. I wish that she and I got to work as closely as we did at one time today. I think she still has so much good left in her, and so many wonderful things that she'll be able to accomplish. And it's my prayer that even though she calls herself same old Diane, that just Diane Bentley will not be afraid to use the voice that she does still have. So spoke with her, and she was in as good a spirits as you could hope for when you're having to relive this sad time in your life. 50 years of marriage, you know, and you think how it's ending, and you know how public it is. Most people that have to go through a divorce don't have to relive it over and over in the news and right in front of them. But she's an incredible woman, and she left me with the thought that she was about to go spread the love of Jesus with a lot of people in need. So to me, I think that's her biggest message to all of us. Hey, focus on the people that really need it, and love God, love others, and help everybody love Jesus.
I appreciate your time. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to share that you feel like people need to know or haven't been aware of throughout this process that might be pertinent?
I don't know. I hope that people, when they think about the Bentley administration, this won't be the only thing they think of. I hope that they remember the good things that did happen. Mrs. Bentley championed foster care adoption in the state of Alabama, so I hope people will look at things like that and the legislation that was created around that, and remember that there are children in our state that need forever homes, and then our domestic violence awareness campaigns that, you know, the homes and the shelters are better because of what First Lady Diane Bentley did, and that people won't abandon that completely. They'll continue to gather around victims and offer support for those in need. So it's just my hope that people will remember the bright spots, even if it's just from what First Lady Diane Bentley did, and really work together to build a better Alabama.
I guess my last question to you is, you know, being that we've read what we've read in this report now, and you've told us a little bit about how this kind of transpired. We listened to former Governor Bentley's remarks yesterday, and there were some things he said and some things people thought that he should have said, and so have you ever had an opportunity to talk with him or to bury the hatchet or anything since any of this has gone on?
No, and honestly, I don't know that I've been ready for it. When I left my time at the Bentley administration, I spoke with him and expressed my feelings at that time, and honestly, after that, I've had to let it go and move on. I mean, I'm young, I have to continue to live my life and lead my life, and I cannot let something that happened in my past be a cloud of doom over my head. So I haven't spoken to him since any of this has come out. I'm sure he prefers it to be that way as well, but I hope he also knows that I've forgiven him, and I truly hope he does seek and find repentance from everything, and it goes back to being the man that I so believed in when he was Dr. Robert Bentley.
Ask her to elaborate on that last face-to-face.
Ooh.
If you don't mind, let's talk about the last time that you guys spoke. What was the conversation and the tone and the attitude?
It was a very brief conversation. Mrs. Bentley was very gracious to have a going away event for me at the governor's mansion with friends of the mansion and just people that we had gotten to work with and very closely, and give me kind of a chance to tell them goodbye, even though it's hard to tell someone goodbye when you can't really tell them why you're leaving, because I felt like I was abandoning our work. And was really surprised that the governor was there. I can't say I was happy that he was there. I honestly was a little bit disappointed and upset because I wanted just to leave it on a happy note, and I just expressed to him my disappointment in the fact that, hey, I started working for you in college and I believed in who you were, and I feel like I always do my best to put my name behind people that I truly believe in, and I put my name behind him. I asked my family to put their name behind him and support him, and he really let me down in a really big way, and I don't know why I felt the need to say that. I don't know if I needed to say it just for my own self so that I could feel like I could forgive him and move on, or if I thought it was just one last plea that maybe something would hit him and make him stop. I'm not really sure, but it's water under the bridge.
Did he have anything to say to
No.
any of that? Just
No.
Wow. Well, I think that was all the questions I had, unless there was anything else that either of you guys could think of.
I think you covered what you did. It's very comprehensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did you truly ever feel threatened by him?
You know, I don't, everybody keeps acting so surprised that I wasn't, but no. And I guess I can attribute that to the way I was raised. My parents are very strong people that have overcome a lot in their life. Everybody makes references to the fact that I'm from the Hannah family, so big, strong football family. And then my mom is an awesome, very strong woman, and they just have taught me not to be intimidated by anybody. And I guess it's people expected me to be intimidated by the office, since it is the governor of the state of Alabama, and he's telling me I can't work in the state of Alabama. But you know, when you truly believe in something and you know you are doing the right thing, you can't let anything stop you. And honestly, I wasn't afraid of him because I knew what I was doing and who I was standing for was right.
Appreciate your time. If you think that for